Yo, what is going on, YouTube? I hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Today, I'm bringing you guys a little top 3 video for every role based on if you want to win your games with the best god possible in ranked. Top 3 gods to play in ranked if you want to win in each role. That's how we'll do it. That's what it's going to be. Starting off with solo lane. This is in no particular order. This is just the top 3 in this current meta. RTO. Still just an absolutely insane god. A lot of the time you're playing against double physical solo jungle, and you can go into like a breastplate mystical mail and you're impossible to deal with. It's actually very, very tough to even fight you early game, and then mid game you transition really strongly. And then late game, you kind of just passing the baton off to hopefully your late game somewhere. But if it doesn't go late, RDO stomps the early game. A lot of ranked is winning the early game. So if you want to win the early game, RDO is one of the best ways to do it. Another way to do it, playing the Camazotz.
Hold up.
Actually, well, I guess we'll go over a slight build quick with RDO. So it'll start with Warrior's Axe, just the best by far. And do a breastplate, mystical mail, bulwark, and then whatever after. If you need a spectral for some anti-crit, if you need auto attack reduction like a witch blade, mantle is always good. Purdon is fine. Probably don't need Purdon on RDO just because you're a stance switcher, but basically anything like that and you're feeling good and you'll just kind of stomp the game as RDO. Like I said, next one is Kama. Another thing like RDO where he just kind of stomps the middle game, the early game, and transitions well into the mid-late game. This passive and just his entire kit makes it so he's almost unboxable. Because Warrior's Axe is meta in solo. He heals just way too much while also not taking enough damage, and then he just does a lot of damage also. So you go a little Warrior's Axe into Blackthorn into, I think he goes Cad Shield. I don't know if it's Cad Shield next, but he builds like a really offensive power build. Something like this. Into, I don't know, Heartseeker Mantle, something like this. And he just kind of 1v5s and he never dies and he's impossible to deal with. But he stomps the early game, he transitions well into the mid to late game, and you just basically just dive in one shot and you're untargetable in the air. And with the addition of where his ult is instantly immune, it's like a Robin 2 now. Obnoxious. Honestly, I hated it. It is what it is, and he's reaping all the benefits right now. Last, yeah, it's kind of weird. Solo's got 3 different roles for every 3 different classes for every one of their gods. Next one is Achilles. He just builds right now really well into this solo lane build. I gotta get rid of all my dumb bad support builds. Axe into Blackthorn. You'll see a lot of Blackthorn. Blackthorn right now is just bonkers. Spectral. If you're playing against a lot of magicals, if you're playing against like an RDO or maybe a mage, Runic Shield is getting built a lot too. So you can go like this into this into this into Mystical Mail into Bulwark, Ridwin, and then you're basically undeal-withable, and you do a lot of damage because your kit is just super high base damage. And his 2 buffs him in offensive ways and defensive ways. You don't dominate the early game, but you're strong in the early game. And then the mid game, you're very hard to deal with. And late game, you're also very hard to deal with. Those are the top 3 for solos. Jungles, starting out with the second newest character, Kleena. So much base damage. And in ranked, where there's not the comms, you don't know where the Kleena really is. She just kind of wreaks havoc. Her gank shouldn't be great based on how little CC she has. But she's got the Art of Surprise on her. The Art of Surprise? The Art of Surprise. That's got to be it, right? The Art of Surprise. I'm gonna assume it's that. You got the Art of Surprise. That does not sound right, but I'm going with it. You got the Art of Surprise on your side. Yeah, it sounds terrible, and I just keep thinking about it in my head. But you have that on your side, and you have good gap close. Your 1v1 potential is pretty good, and you're basically always kind of full health because you get a little bit of lifesteal coming out of walls, and then along with the Boombas, you're kind of always rocking full health. You transition into the late game where you just one-shot everyone. Your ult does 1,000 damage in a second, and you can have 2 stacked, and you're actually able to just one-shot a squishy off the map if you have your 2 Tearing the Veil set up and they walk through it and just get hit by both. And then just play team fights really patient, wait for your soul laner to go in, and then just go pick the team fight apart and go kill everyone. Basically like all assassins do, but without, he doesn't have a lot of CC. Also, the god of being nerfed 1,000,000 times and he's still OP. Erlong Shen, round of applause. Woo! I hate this god. Like, just look at his numbers now. 15 plus 10%, 85 plus 55%. Like, his numbers are down so low, but his kit is just so good. Everywhere in his kit, his 1 might be the only ability where it's not great, but in the jungle, it's actually pretty good because you're just getting an extra 100 auto every time. Or like you're basically just looking to stomp the early game with like a mannequins, and you're just looking to run it down and just gank for your team and get them a lead. The builds are pretty basic. Boombas into like a Jotuns. I know some people like Erendite on her. I don't think Erendite's very great right now. You can go a little bit more of a utility-based build of the Blackthorn. You can just go Crusher into... Shredded's always good. Titan's Bane is always good. Choose one of those 2. Heartseeker, and then the last spot is for a Mantle, a Magi's, whatever you need here. And that's basically the build. And then you're gonna go into the Boomba Spear. Or like I said, just stomp in the early game. Your build's just looking like Mannequin, Crusher. I know people liking Berserkers a lot on them. You can go like Berserkers, Toxic Blade, you go Wing Blade, Mantle, and just like this in your build, you're going to do so much damage, and then you're going to transition this into the Mannequin Mace. In a build like this, you do a lot of damage. You're very hard to deal with, and the team doesn't kill you. You kind of just run the fight. Next one, I think Bastet. She just got reworked, but I think she's going to be kind of perfect for ranked. Her ult just allows you to get a free pick, and a lot of gods right now either start Blink in the jungle, Med in solo lane, Med in support, and then beads are usually in mid and carry, but who cares about them? You just one-shot them. Her 3 is still a pretty underwhelming ability, but the rest of her kit kind of makes up for it. You have decent early game, you scale well into the mid game, and then the late game you're kind of a one-shot beast with your ult. I would say practice your ults. They are weirdly hard to hit for some reason. Like, you're like, I'm gonna snipe this guy, and then you're just miles off because it comes off at like a weird time. But you can also like turn like as you're throwing it out, and it'll like turn with you. You just gotta go test it. It's kind of like an Ularax, but just go test it. But if you can hit the ults semi-consistently, or at least 40% of the time, if you're hitting it about 40% of the time, it's feeling good, because it's basically a guaranteed kill every time you hit it if they don't have beads. Build is kind of the same as a Kleena. I'm kind of going into Boombas, Jotuns, Crusher. We'll say Titan's Bane this time. I don't think she's as great with Serrated. Heartseeker, and then a Mantle or Magi's for the last spot. And if you guys are wanting the builds, you can just pause the video. I'm kind of just going through the builds pretty quickly because I feel like builds are pretty consistent right now. Mid, Zeus with the book build is just insane in rank. You just go into a Sands, into double book, or actually I guess it would be triple book. Book, and then Reaver, Ob, and then you can go a Mantle here. You can go a Magi's also, and then you go into your Pendulum. A lot of people are liking the jungle start too. I think it's either jungle that they go into a Protector into the late game. It makes it so you basically just run around one-shotting all the camps, and nobody can kind of keep up with you. You can walk into the mid lane, kill it faster than anyone else, walk to the rights, and one-shot them with your one. It's a pretty fun way to play Zeus. You kind of play him like a weird jungler, kind of like a Yanis, where you walk around one-shotting everything. I'd recommend giving it a try, but I do think Sands is slightly better. But for ranked, power farming is always good, so especially out of mid lane. And then Zeus just transitions to a late game bot or late game tank mage fragger that kills everyone and doesn't die because Book of the Dead is strong. Another one, Tia. Tia's playing very well with this double flat pen build. Deso, Magus, or Divine. I think you see a lot of Divine. And then it really is dependent on your style. Do you like the Conduit more? Do you like the Sands? I see people go both. I think Sands personally is slightly better because I think Tia plays better with cooldown. And then you just go into like a Reaver, into an Ob, and then whatever you need last. Usually another power item somewhere. You can go like a Soul Gem. You can go into a E-Staff for a little bit of survivability. Soul Gem for a little bit of survivability. Kind of whatever you want last. But that's the kind of the Tia build. You're just looking to farm up until like the mid to late game, and then Tia becomes an absolute monster. Probably one of the best mages in the game at that point. Just recognize that your early game fight is pretty weak. Pre-5 especially, you are very, very weak. Especially. And then the last mid laner on the list, AMC. Not the beast! This god gives out infinite pressure in mid 99% of the time. He just does so much base damage. If a god has good clear, good damage, and like good survivability, that's like the perfect character. And AMC in mid actually has very good survivability because of how quick he can get back to tower. And then just this little healing on his hive. He's always kind of be full health or close to full health. And then he just insta clears the waves, looks to farm. And then he kind of pokes you down with his hive honey combo. Just looking to get early leads and push it. You can go Bluestone. I think the mid build actually kind of has a lot of different iterations. But you can go Bluestone. You can go Boombas if you want to. Personally, I think Bluestone is the best for mid lane just because you're looking to clear and get out. You can go Desto also. And then you just kind of go into this Crusher, Trans, and then whatever you need also. Aussie, Titan's Bane, Chin, something like this. And you'll be able to one-shot. You'll kill everyone in your path. And then with your ult, you don't even need pen. That thing is one-shotting. That's mid for you guys. Next up, we got support. And like I said, these are just the best for ranked. These are not just the best 3 gods in the game. They'll vary from comp to rank. But Yemoja is still just... If you can play this god, you can win games by yourself. The amount of damage, utility, control, CC she has is just insane. And this is basically the build you'll be going with her. Benevolence into the Compassion. Late game, Thebes, Pridwin, nearly every game. She is very cooldown reliant, so you kind of need that Pridwin, and you need it as early as possible, but you can't forego the Thebes. Shogun's feels good. You go a flat pit item like Divine, like Deso, and then you just finish it off with, yeah, like one of these. Ra isn't too bad on it also because you get extra healing. You're just looking to play the laning phase aggressively because she wins laning phases very, very easily with her damage and CC and setup. She also trades well because she can heal her teammate and herself. With Med, she's nearly unkillable until like a gank at level 3 to 4, or she can just usually out sustain it. Late game, you're just playing for sick ults where you can split up the fight, either split up the dive so that the backline can't help the diver who's dove too deep, or split up an ADC or mid that can't get out of it, or a jungler even that can't get out of your ult, and then you just run them down. That is Yamoja. The good thing about supports is I already usually have builds for them. Well, not for this one. Sobek, always going to be like a great rank support. He kind of just wins lanes, and then he just has this easy CC where I'm going to pluck this guy, back to you guys,
kill him.
And then he just stands there and waits for the next guy, and then he plucks the next guy and kill him. That's all he does. I think Sobek is a Sentinel's god because you're looking to be as tanky as possible, and then into the late game, you want to try to scale into being as tanky as possible. Compassion is good on those gods that have sustain or built-in tankiness, mostly just looking to peel. Sobek's more of a dive god, setup god. So I think you can go like a flat pet item and you'll feel fine on it. Go like a divine here after the Thebes, Pridwin divine, and then just finish off with a Sov bulwark, and you'll be feeling good with a build like this. I'm still a big fan of Boon and Embrace. I would go Boon if I'm pretty far behind on my build, and that extra gold will maybe help me finish my build before like a team fight or something. But Embrace is just a pretty simple, you can kind of build it whenever and you'll be feeling fine. Next up, Bacchus. Bacchus with that same build that I had on the Sobek feels incredible. You do so much damage. You are very, very hard to deal with. And your laning phase is good into those sustained gods because you have your Belch, and then you don't really need Blink for engage. You just have your flop. You trade very well into those Yamojas, the Sylvanuses, the Terras, just because you are anti-healing them and healing yourself with the med. And people don't really expect it. His damage is also super high. And then transitioning into the mid to the late game, you can almost one-shot a lot of squishies, but get them very low. I would recommend going a flat pet item in nearly every game. And I think Divine is just the best, safest option because it's so cheap, gives you a lot of power, good amount of pen, and then the anti-heal because of how much healing is in the game right now. So yeah, Bacchus is the third support. Now we got the Hunters. Hunter builds are kind of the same, but the first Hunter is actually Freya. This god, you get 2 rings online and the game is over. You just go this into ring, ring, ring. Oh, it's grip, not ring. Ring, and then rod. And you upgrade this into diamond arrow. You farm till you're Hecate, and then you're decently strong, but you're looking for this 2-item spike. Hecate and hastened ring makes you unboxable, and nobody can 1v1 you if you are within a level. Even if you're down 2 levels, I've seen it in scrims, I've seen it in ranked. Freya's down 2 levels, hits 1 whoop, starts just pounding down with some hastened ring autos, Hecate autos, and she basically is full health and you're dead. So yeah, I would recommend playing Freya. I know a lot of you probably hate her, but she is very, very, very strong right now. Next up, we got another magical ADC, Olorun. Olorun is still a little bit of a mannequin abuser. He uses it, I don't know how to describe it. He uses it maybe 50% of the time. It's either that or arrow. His build is semi-similar. I haven't seen like a exact Olorun build yet. You maybe have to like look at Zatman or Bara for an exact build yet. But I think he just builds rings mostly. I know he'll build Hecate into some other rings. I don't know exactly what his build is right now. Like I said, just look it up. But he's basically dominant in the laning phase, solid in the mid game, and then he just scales into this absolute beast late game because of his ult and just how hard his autos are going to hit with the diamond arrow. I recommend playing a lot of Olorun until the rings get nerfed or he gets nerfed or maybe removed from the game. Play a lot of Olorun. Lastly for Hunters is Anami. The amount of pressure and just presence this god puts out is just obnoxious. This spike right here, insane. She can almost one-shot you, and she's an auto attack based god, which is just weird. She'll 2 you and she'll ult you, and you'll be down 700 health at level 7. You're like, where did my health bar go? You try to gank this god and she turns it on you, and then your ADC spam pings you because you just fed his lane opponent. Sometimes you just can't stop it. But I recommend playing a lot of Izanami. She stomps the early game, and she scales well into the late game. She'll be critting hard. Her passive is actually pretty underrated. Combined with the Aussie, makes it so even if she's getting low, she's going to be hitting you even harder, and she's going to be life-stealing even more. And then life-stealing even more because she's hitting you even harder. So she's very hard to deal with. She's very hard to kill into the late game. Some gods obviously play very well into her, mostly assassins or solo laners that can kind of get on top of her and stay on top of her. Odin, Nike, Kama, stuff like that. Kama especially has a really good matchup with Izza. But Izza just stomps the early game it scales pretty well into the, or stomps the early game and scales pretty well into the late game. That is the top 3 in every role. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions, or if you think I missed somebody on the list, or I should have put somebody else on the list, let me know. And if you guys, I want to throw an Oleron build out there for the people in the comments, feel free. I don't really know the exact build, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Good luck in your guys' ranked games. And I appreciate you if you made it this far, because it's a little bit of a longer video. Thank you. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night.